Welcome back to another live session of Leadership Ready Room Chats. I am Brandon Jenkins, and this is Tom Murray. We are the co-founders of Leadership Ready Room. It is a peer coaching, peer accountability, peer leader development community that we have founded and just launched last week. And so today we are going to tackle a real world challenge and give you all a taste of what it's like when you're in a peer leader room and the people in that room with you are using coaching skills to help you uncover what you need to do for whatever challenge you're facing, whatever goal that you're trying to achieve. And yeah, we're going to get right into it. Do that for about 10 minutes or so, 10 or 15 minutes or so. And then we are going to open it up to questions from anyone who's in the audience. So with that, I will say, hey, Tom, how you doing today?
Doing great, Brandon. It's a beautiful Friday out here in San Diego.
Yeah, man. Beautiful Friday. Hey, you're in the growth seat today. And so I'll kick it over to you. What do you want to bring to the table today?
Yeah, and thanks, Brandon. I appreciate the opportunity, and in case there's somebody out there that's dubious, this isn't scripted. I'm actually presenting a challenge that I'm having in business today, and like I would do with my peer coaching team. So I'm at a crossroads in business, Brandon. My company, 𝗪𝗲𝗄𝗵𝗹 Realty, I'm growing. I'm attempting to scale. And
Are you back, bud?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Wonderful.
All right. We were, people were being patient, bearing with us with the technical difficulties. And I threw out a question for reflection for everybody. Just, hey, when you're a leader and you're in a situation and things just are not going as planned, what do you do? What's that like for you? What does that feel like? What's your default mode? And how do you kind of handle that situation? So this has been great practice, my friend.
Yeah, sounds great. I have plenty of thoughts on that, and also happy to jump into the real world problem and work through some peer coaching. So I'll follow your lead, Brandon.
Yeah, why don't we jump right into it, brother?
Okay. So as I started to say before the audio cut out, this isn't scripted, right? It's an actual problem I'm encountering in my business, and I am looking for help. And Brandon is the first person I'd go to. So my business, 𝗪𝗲𝗄𝗵 Realty, I'm in full growth mode. We're a SoCal real estate company, and I am trying to grow this business. And I've gotten to the point, Brandon, where I've got a lot of leads. I've got a lot of clients that I'm engaging with. And I find that I'm spending too much time doing things other than client engagement. Now, as you know, I've already got a director of operations who also handles my property management. I've got somebody doing my marketing and communications, and I've got a virtual assistant doing a lot of odds and ends in the background. But I still find that I'm spending a lot of time on admin type tasks, calendar management, inbox management, and just the client support beyond the engagement. And so I'm unwilling to give up the client engagement. And it's also the thing I'm furthest behind on. And so I find myself at a crossroads and needing to decide whether to hire or shed some other task. And I guess the other bit of background I'll offer before I, pause for your questions is what the background is that I don't, from a cash position, I don't have the comfort that I'd like right now to hire. So I'm not, I'd be betting on myself a little bit, I guess. So I'll stop there in case you have any intro questions.
Yeah, man, it's a lot going on for you right now. The first question I have is like, what kind of other issues, maybe in the business or other parts of your life, is this problem that you've just described or this challenge you've just described, what other kinds of issues is that causing for you in your life?
I mean, candidly, I feel behind in a lot of different areas, right? So I've got my own investment properties that I've got a business built around that, and I'm not spending enough time working on that. And I'm pretty involved in the community. And so I find that I'm spread pretty thin with coaching my kids' sports teams, and I run my kids' school board of trustees. And so those things kind of just chip away at the available time. And I find that I'm not given quite enough to those, not to the degree that I would like to. And at the same time, like I said earlier, falling behind with, I guess I feel like I'm in a catch-22, Brandon. I feel like I need to do more client engagement to generate the money, right? The cash flow, the revenue that I need to pay another employee. But I feel like I can't do that without hiring. Maybe that's a good way to sum it up.
Yeah. And so, like, what would it be like for you, ideally, if this actually wasn't a problem at all?
When you say what would it be like, in a dream state, right? Ideal state? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you tell me.
I guess I feel like I run from one thing to the next right now, right? Like I finish a task, a meeting, an event, and I am going to show up just in time for the next thing. And I feel like everything feels hurried. And so I feel like I wind up not showing up as my best self to whatever that thing is, whether it's a client, it doesn't matter, right? Across the board, I feel like I'm not showing up as my best self. And so I don't know, I guess if I'm being super vulnerable, it just feels like I wind up going through the day letting people down left and right. Right. That's how I feel. That's the weight. But I feel stuck because I feel like there's risk associated with hiring ahead of the cash flow. I think that's the hang up in my mind. As I say it out loud again, I feel like the hang up is not based on need, but based on maybe it's a confidence thing, right? Am I gonna generate the revenue?
When you say confidence thing, am I going to generate the revenue? Tell me more about that. What do you mean?
So if I hire, I will take on an additional financial obligation, within the business, a salary. And certainly I'll want to be able to honor my side of that contract and be a dependable employer. And so I think that scale, that imaginary scale in my mind is, can I generate the revenue needed to satisfy my financial obligations? Can I generate that quickly enough simply by hiring and freeing up time to service the leads and clients that I have? That's the balance in my mind. But the confidence, I guess, is the same thing, said a different way. Will I be able to do it? If I dedicate more time, if I depressurize the rest of my schedule, will I actually convert more of these leads and generate revenue? Am I able to do that? That's the confidence piece.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. And so, with your time in the growth seat today, like, what would be something that you really want to get out of this session?
I mean, I think I know what I need to do, and I think I need support in, working through that confidence piece, right? That I am doing the right things, that I have done the right things to date, and that, staying the course. I think that's what I need probably is the confidence that staying the course will generate the revenue that I think it should and can, which I think will help me get over the hurdle of being concerned about, the ability to meet my financial obligations.
Yeah. Okay. And so, like, imagine you have that confidence right now. What would that feel like to you?
I mean, I guess the confidence, I guess I'm pretty pragmatic at the end of the day. And what I'm trying to work through is, how much time am I freeing up by bringing this person on? And then can I realistically devote that time I've freed up to client engagement? That's probably the simplest form of the question. And I mean, I guess I have not actually I've not actually worked through this aloud before, or even internally. So how much time can I reasonably expect to free up is probably the question I need to ask myself. And is that enough time to get meaningful client engagement back in my day?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could probably count on at least 1 to 2 hours per day of my time getting returned to me. And I feel like when I'm on my game with client engagement, I need a solid hour a day, right? On average. Some days it's less, some days it's more. So I do think it's a reasonable assumption that I'll get the client engagement that I feel like I'm lacking, or that I'll be able to deliver it, maybe is the right phrase. So yeah, I mean, I guess if I make it a math problem, I do get it.
And when you say do get, what's the connection between getting it? You're saying you do get it,
Getting the
and
time.
this confidence that you want.
I think the confidence comes from the math that you're not forcing me to do it, but the math problem you've caused me to stumble into, I think gives me the confidence, right? Doing the working through it and thinking about what I need and what I will get from a hire, I do think I'll get that time, and that does give me the confidence that I'm going in the right direction with this thought of hiring someone.
Okay. So then, like, what's the next step you need to take?
I mean, I guess the most important step would be looking at my calendar, looking at a week or 2 weeks and of the past, and being honest with myself about, will I achieve will I buy back the time that I think I need? I think that's probably the pressure test I need to do. Look back at this week that we're wrapping up. So I'll do that this weekend. I'll reflect on the past week and see if I feel confident that I'll be able to buy back enough time to have a meaningful effect in the business, meaningful impact. And if the answer is yes, then it's time to hire. I think I can boil it down that simply.
Okay. Well, I don't want to kind of leave out the first part of this. And so I just want to clarify the confidence of kind of backing the math out and seeing, how much time you think you can buy back, and then what you could do with that time as it relates to your client engagement. I just want to be sure, is there anything else tied to the confidence? Because you also mentioned the revenue piece and the ability to bring in the revenue that would actually cover the new hire. Where is that falling out for you right now?
I guess I have a strongly held belief that I am not, in my business, generating the revenue I could because I'm not keeping up with client engagement the way that I feel I should. Maybe I didn't say that out loud. That's the connection in my mind. So I feel like there are a number of clients in my network who are probably waiting for me, or there is the ability to generate new clients from activities that I feel I don't have time for today. That's the connection. Does that answer your question?
Well, just let me summarize what I heard and challenge me if I don't have this right. But the confidence stems from the confidence in making the revenue. You're tying the revenue making to the client engagement. And then the challenge also is that you don't have time for the client engagement. And so you're considering hiring. So it creates this kind of circle. And so the confidence would be if I, and from what you've said, again, challenge me, if I can create the time, which I could potentially do with a hire, then I'll have the client engagement, the revenue will pick up, and I'll be able to afford the hire. And so then that goes back to what you said you think you need to do next, which is kind of do the math, back it out, see how much time you're going to free up. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I guess I'd say challenge that if that's not right. And then is there anything that you need to kind of clean up to understand what your next step is?
No, I don't think that. No, I don't. I mean, I think you've gotten me to the point that I know I need to go back and look at my calendar, validate this assumption that hiring will give me the time, because I don't Brandon, I don't think I lack the confidence that if I have the time, that the client engagement will be worthwhile and beneficial to the business. That part, I have that confidence. It's more of the confidence around, can I directly relate the hire to getting time back? And so I think the step remains, I have to look at my calendar. So yes, you've summarized it well.
Well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to make sure that the hire will give you the time back?
I'm going to go back through I use my calendar quite extensively, and I can look back and tell you what I did, Monday at 2 p.m. by looking at my calendar, for example. And so I will look back and try to identify how much time every day was spent doing things that will be taken off my plate if I hire.
Okay.
Yeah.
When are you going to do
Yeah.
that?
So I'll do that tomorrow morning over my first cup of coffee tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got 𝗲𝗂𝗲𝗏 Chats in the morning, or 𝗲𝗏 in the morning. So you're going to do it before that?
The coffee's an hour before that. Oh yeah.
Okay.
When I see you at 5 a.m. tomorrow, I will already have done this.
Okay. All right. Well, what do you need? What else do you need from me?
Nothing. I think you got me to a good place, right? I know how I can evaluate this decision. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure, man. Cool. So, hey, Tom, like, breaking you're out of the growth seat. Okay. Pressure's off. And so, cause this is how like a normal meeting in Leadership Ready Room, you're meeting with your group. It'd be us two and four others, right? There's six people in the ready room. And so then you finish with the growth seat. And so then it's kind of like, all right, what else do you need from us? And then kind of what was that like for you, Tom, to be in the growth seat?
I mean, despite the fact that you and I have had conversations like this for 5.5 years on a weekly basis, and that I should know how to work through this, I still got it. I mean, no kidding. I still got a ton out of this by, I'll say being forced, and I wasn't forced to do anything, but by being willing to have this conversation and let someone ask some probing questions, I now have the most logical approach that I've had to date. And I've been thinking about this, Brandon. I mean, from other conversations, I've been thinking about this for 6 weeks, probably. I have just arrived at the most logical place, and am the most comfortable I've been yet with my ability to make the decision, just based on the last 10 minutes. So yeah, I feel like I'm in a much better spot. My anxiety is already lower because I feel like I know what I need to do.
What do you attribute that to?
I think vulnerability is a key part of it, right? I didn't feel judged by you. I didn't feel like you were, right? I may have shared something just now that was obvious to you. And at no point in our conversation did you make me feel like I missed something. So I didn't feel judged. And I was willing to share how I really feel, right? Whether it was my comments on confidence, that's the truth. And I think the third piece for me is it's not quite self-awareness, but it's honesty. And I'm sure there's a Venn diagram there where we have some overlap in vulnerability and some true honesty and transparency. But I feel like I had to probably push through some biases that I had and really answer from a place of honesty and not necessarily poisoning the well or predetermining the outcome. So I think those three things enable a much more productive discussion and get to root causes and ultimately toward resolutions.
Yeah, I love that, and you're hitting on some key things, right? That when you're in the right room, when you hear us say, audience, like when you hear us say that it's about being in the right room with the right people, it's about environment and feeling like you're in a room with folks who aren't judging, who care about your success and your growth as much as you care about theirs. And when you have that in a group, when you have that on a team, then you're able to kind of cut the bullshit and open up and just like be real, answer the questions, right? And really reflect on no crap, like what do I need to do next? right? And so that's what it means to be in the right room with the right people. And that's what we're trying to create with Leadership Ready Room. It's what Tom and I have enjoyed with Green Squad for 5+ years. And it didn't start out like that immediately. It took a few sessions, right? But what we started with, I don't know, Tom, what do you think we all started with? What was the key ingredient, the attributes that we brought to the table when we started that allowed us to kind of quickly get into this mode?
I do think that our group understood the assignment, which was to be vulnerable and to support one another. I think we got that right out of the gate. I think the consistency that our group has had now, again, for 5.5 years, and we were consistent all along, right? I think that was another key element. And you're right, the conversations were not as deep as they are today. However, the level of support and consistency is just, I think that's what's gotten us here. And I'll say that I can think of every member of our group, right, that we keep talking about, the room that we're in. I could tell multiple stories about every one of us where the power of the group being in the right room, asking and answering the right questions has allowed our growth to proceed at a much faster pace than I could have done alone, right? I can't necessarily speak for my peers, but I mean, as you were asking me questions about this hiring decision I'm facing now, I was reflecting on similar conversations from 14 months ago when I was considering hiring my first employee. And I can honestly say at this point, I wouldn't have done it were it not for my peers, right? For not being in the right room. Because I had some other voices telling me I was not going in the right direction. But, being in the right room got me to a yes with that hire. And Brandon, I can't tell you where I'd be had I not done that. I wouldn't have enjoyed half the success I have over the last 14 months. So, yeah. Well, what about you? Are there other things for you that
Yeah.
are important elements? Are there other things for you that
Yeah.
are important
Well,
elements?
yeah. I mean, you mentioned most of them. I think that it was the mindset coming into it, right? And that's why coming into this, I think the people who are going to thrive in this type of room are the leaders that have a growth mindset, are humble. And by the way, humble screams confidence. It also screams self-awareness and situational awareness. You understand that you couldn't possibly have experienced everything in your life you needed to experience to have all of the answers. And so while you confidently bring your whole self to the situation, you're also ready to learn. You're ready to hear other perspectives and think about things in a way maybe you didn't think about before. So I think it's that mindset, coming into it with that. And like you mentioned, the mindset of, hey, I'm team oriented and this is my new team. And I want to make sure that my teammates are successful and they grow and they develop just like they're going to do for me. And if you come into it with that and you prove it week after week, you'll quickly get to that point where the environment is safe to where you're going to open up, you're going to cut the crap. And that's what it takes to you got to be honest with yourself, right? In order to be able to come up with these approaches to help with your goals and your challenges. So, those are kind of the two elements there that I think are incredibly important to bring into this. So I can't see the chat. My other screen went dark here. So Tom, do you see any questions in the comment sections?
I don't see any questions. No, a couple of great comments. But if there are questions out there, go ahead and post them now and we can address them.
Yeah, please do. We'll just pause for just a couple minutes.
Through again, Brandon.
Okay. All right. Couple great comments from Nick. Thank you so much for attending today. Those comments are spot on. Wow, what courage, right? Leaving your job 2 months ago to start your business. A lot of courage there to do that. And thanks so much for coming today to learn about Leadership Ready Room and support. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate everybody who showed up. Tom, any parting words before we sign off for today?
Thanks so much for joining us today. And for those of you that are watching this, once it's recorded and uploaded, reach out if you have questions. If you're curious about peer coaching, if you're curious about getting in the right room and you have that growth mindset like Brandon was talking about, we'd love to share more of this with you. And we look forward to seeing you on our next Leadership Ready Room Chats.
All right. See you next time.